Hey guys, welcome back to the Clack Shack. Tonight we're going to take this piece of cypress that I cut on my mill. It's a locally harvested cypress tree that I got from right here on the Coosa River nearby. And I'm going to take and turn this thing into a cool little decorative like serving board, cheese board, or whatnot. And from this position, which is just basically the piece of wood, I have planed it, got it smooth, hit it with a sander, sanded it down to 120 grit and got it nice and slick. But we're going to take, and I'm going to take using the XTool D1 Pro, my 20 watt, and we're going to cut this guy and get everything to the point to where we want to have it completed there. Let me show you the thickness on this guy. If I can get my tool to cooperate. This is 11.7 millimeters, if I can get it to quit focusing on me. 11.7 millimeter thick material. That should be, from what I know of cutting cypress with the laser and cedar and some of the other materials, that should be well within the capabilities of this machine. Cypress generally cuts okay. Some of these knots and stuff like that I might stay away from. But tonight I'm just going to show you a quick, easy little project. If you can get your hands on some planks of cypress this thickness, maybe there's a sawmill nearby you. If you're in a hardware store, maybe they might have something this thick. It's not quite, let me convert over to inches here. It should be close to a ½ inch. It's 0.46 inches. So it's nominally speaking here, it's really close to a ½ inch thick piece of material. So if you could get your hands on a piece of ½ inch thick cypress, you could do one of these too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it over to the machine, I'm gonna set it up, and basically I'm just gonna be cutting the outline. But while I'm cutting the outline, I'm also going to do the engrave. I want to do this whole piece from wood to finished product is going to be done with the laser. No drills, no saws, no nothing. Just the 20 watt. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. All right, guys, of course, part one is going to be to get the material inside the workspace. And coincidentally, I cut it exactly the size of inside my honeycomb so that I could keep it in my work area and not have to worry about it hanging over or getting caught up on any cables or anything. So I'm going to get it set up, and I'm just going to pull the machine over here. Of course, everybody knows you got to focus. I like to focus before I walk away from the machine. Before I even power the machine up, I'm going to go ahead and focus and turn the power on to the machine. So then I'm going to move over here to my computer, and what I'm going to do with this one, let me go ahead and home the machine. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to be running a burn pattern that I've already got. This is I've got several different shapes that I use on cutting boards. A lot of times I actually use the machine to size and shape my cutting boards by just making a mark, and then I cut them out with the bandsaw. But for this little job, we're just going to use one of these really odd shaped ones that I hate to cut out with the bandsaw, so that because this way I'm not having to worry about trying to cut it with the bandsaw or the jigsaw or the scroll saw. So I'm just going to pull one of my little shapes out of here, and this is it's going to be a very unique piece, and that's what I like to make. I don't like my pieces being cookie cutter, the same as what you can get at the local hobby store. I want them to be unique and different. So this guy is definitely going to be unique and different. It's going to look more kind of like a meat cleaver crossed with a cutting board, and this shape is also going to afford me the opportunity, according to my camera, to work around this knot. This knot actually should wind up in my scrap material here. So I'm going to go ahead, I've got the machine home, I'm going to go ahead and frame this cutout right here. All right, so I've got the machine framed, and the power settings that I'm going to run on this, of course, is going to be 6 millimeters per second. Because this is some really thick material, I'm going to go ahead and set my passes to 5. I don't think I will be needing 5 passes, but take it from me. Set your cut to be the very last layer that the machine runs. Add a couple of extra passes just as a precaution in case I do catch part of this this knot or whatever, I can go ahead and have those extra passes to go through it if need be. It's a lot easier to do that on the front end than it is to try to go back on the back end and send it back out and cut that exact same line. Not saying that you can't do it. My machine is usually accurate enough it can do it, no problems. But just to eliminate that being a problem, just go ahead and add a couple of extra passes and just be sure that you set that pass to be last. I'm gonna frame one more time. What I'm looking for here is just, the way this thing is curved, I'm pretty sure my frame's gonna go through the edge of that knot, but the curvature of the design should avoid it. Yeah, see, I got plenty of room between the cut and that knot. So I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna go ahead and drop me a design on here. In lieu of the fact that we've got Easter coming up, I'm gonna go ahead and draw me a little Easter design here. I've got some in a file already saved, and I'm going to change that over to an engrave. And this is just going to be, like I said, I want this to just be a decorative little piece that you could hang up more or less to decorate the house. I'm not planning on anybody chopping up any onions or anything on this cutting board. This is just going to be a decorative piece. And so we'll just do well, let me change that. Let's make it more year-round here. Let me go to my country living folder here that I've got. All right, so we'll use this. This will make it a little more usable year-round for decorations. So I'm gonna take that guy and I'm gonna place it in here to where hopefully it'll look good when I'm done. So I'm gonna rotate that around. So there we go. All right, so what I've done is I've got like a little cabin. It's like a little log cabin kind of design, and I've put it in the middle. And it's gonna do that. I'm gonna set it to where it does the design first, and I'm gonna be running that design at 100% power at 100 speed. I'm gonna be running full air assist, so because this Cypress, it's hit or miss sometimes. It engraves well at times, and then other times I've had some really bad luck with it. So I don't want to run this too fast. And I think with the 20 watt, 100 and 100 is going to be more than adequate to get the job done. So I'm going to set that for 100 and 100. I've got my cut set for 6 millimeters per second, 100% output, and I've got it to run 5 passes. But my expectation is that around 3 or 4 passes, I'll probably be able to stop it once I see the piece fall, and I won't need those last 2 passes. If I do need all 5 passes, then we'll let them run. So we're going to go from here. I'm going to be turning on full air because this is going to be a rather deep cut. So I've got full air, and I'm going to be powering up the vacuum table to go with it as well. The one thing that I haven't done yet, and I need to go ahead and do that, is I'm going to use the secondary adjustment here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop that down. And that's one thing that I do like about the Pros is they added that. So I'm going to drop that down, and I'm going to give it a couple of millimeters penetration for the focus on the right side. And what that does is that assists you in being able to penetrate a thicker piece of material because it moves the focal point down. Make sure I've got that where I want it. All right, I'm gonna play safe, and I'm just gonna go 4 millimeters down. That just gives me a little bit of room in case this piece is not exactly flat on one corner or something. So I've got that set and everything's running, and here we go. All right, guys, it's finishing up on the little cabin design that it put on there. And here in just a second, it's gonna start doing the cut. And I just want to kind of bring you along and let you see how effective or ineffective it's going to be, but I'm pretty sure it's going to make it through there. All of my testing that I've done with a 20 watt, they do a pretty good job at cutting. Right now it's cutting the hole. This is the hole where the handle or rope or whatever will go. So this should be a good tell as to whether or not it's going to make it all the way through. And I am seeing some smoke coming out of the bottom of the piece. So it's at least made it partially through at this point, and it just dropped. So, and that's giving us 1 pass remaining. So yeah, good thing I went with the 5. So 4 passes it should drop, but I was expecting it to be 3 or 4, but it looks like we're going to be closer to 4 on this one. And I am running shop air on this enclosure, so I've got a continual stream of air coming from my air compressor outside. But you can see how I kind of played that odd shape to get around those knots. Worked out really nice. That's one of the benefits of having a camera in Lightburn, is when you have a piece of material like this that has those less than desirable places, such as knots or splits or whatever, you can kind of use the camera to visualize how the engrave and how the cut is going to navigate across the material, and it helps you to avoid those spots. So I'm taking this knotty pieces of material, and I'm actually outputting a very imperfection-free piece of material. I'm not going to have any knots to contend with. And I don't know if you can see the way the smoke is coming out from under the material or not, but one thing about my enclosure with the vacuum setup and everything that I've got going is the smoke really doesn't hang out in the enclosure. It comes out and it gets pulled down below and discharged outside relatively quick. This handle's kind of got like a little hook on it as well. So this would have been a very challenging piece to do with a saw. The thin material, and it's a lot easier with a laser when you can get away with it. All right, guys, it's coming around. I think this is going to be the 4th pass. I'm starting to see a lot of flashback through the crack, and I don't know if you saw it just now, but the piece just shifted, and this end of it kind of raised up a little bit. So pretty certain that it's cut all the way through, but until I see a full drop, I'm just going to let it run all the way out, because like I said, it's a lot easier just to give it the extra couple of minutes and let it make that extra pass than it is for me to go in there and try to remove it and it not be free, have just a little small spot holding or something, and trying to get that to line back up, especially after you touch it. So should be we should have some obvious signs of it being cut here just momentarily. There it went. I don't know if you saw that or not, but it just dropped, and that's gonna let me know that it's cut all the way around, because I saw the other end raise up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. All right, turn off all the noisy stuff, and this is gonna be our piece here. And I had 2 little snags. See, I probably should have let it go ahead and run, but it's luckily it's 2 little small snags right there in that grain. But I saw this end raise up, and I figured it was cut all the way, but unfortunately had a couple of stubborn little grains here. Nothing that the box cutter is not going to be able to take care of, and it should snap right out. There we go. So yeah, I had like two little snags. I don't know if you can see that little guy. I had a little bit right there, right on the edge, but not enough to affect me. And if I'd have took my own advice and let it finish running, it wouldn't have had that. But there's the finished piece right there. I'm gonna hit this thing with some sandpaper. And I got my sander here. I've got 120 grit on this guy. And I just want to briefly touch it up just a little bit, just to get any of the kind of shadowing or soot off the edges around the edge of the burn. All right, now one thing I will show you guys, with the shop air, typically I'm gonna rub the edge of this and show you. Not gonna get a whole lot of soot with the Cypress. I don't know if that's because of my shop air or if it's just because Cypress doesn't soot real bad. But you can run the edges of this Cypress and you're not gonna get a whole lot. I got a little bit right there, right in that little dark vein. But what I typically do is I just take a rag and go around it with a rag and just wipe it with a dry rag. And any of that's going to come off on your hand will come off on the rag. So, but like I said, with the Cypress, I don't know if it's because it's not really a sappy wood. I don't know exactly what it is about it, but I don't get as much soot off of it as I do with like pine and some of the other woods. So we're going to hit this with the air just for a second. If you can see, it's got a little bit of the dust and powder and stuff kind of stuck in there. So I'm going to hit it with the air. Just want to show you what a difference the air makes though. And this is my little DIY. This is a piece of a brake line in my little air nozzle that I put together. And I'll just take it. All right, guys, there you go. That's a 1/2 inch Cypress. Like I said, I got a lot of this stuff left over. I built a bed frame for a guy, and of the panels in the headboard, I had cut this 1/2 inch Cypress to use for the slats in the headboard. And I had a couple of pieces of it left sitting over there. And I was out here at the shop, really didn't have a whole lot going on tonight. So I figured I'd just try to show you guys what you can do with some of these diode lasers, especially the 20 watt. I know there's a lot of talk about the 40 watt. But to be honest with you guys, this is more than adequate for me. So until they can show me otherwise, I'm happy with my 20s. But this is my meat cleaver cutting board that I've made. And like I said, this is just a decorative piece. It's thick enough, you could probably use it, for if you wanted to flip it over on the back side. You could use this for cutting up a tomato or whatever if you treated it with some mineral oil. And then still save the front and use it, for decorations. You just got to remember to flip it over before you go to cutting on it, so you don't mess up the engrave. But these little projects like this, guys, that's what has paid for my machines. That's what continues to make me a little bit of money, is just taking the machine and coming up with creative things that you can't find at Hobby Lobby and places like that, and turning those guys out. So I hope this is a helpful little idea for you. But if you can find yourself some 1/2 inch thick Cypress, and you could even go thicker than that, I wouldn't recommend it. 1/2 inch is about where I found the 20 watts perform well. I did set that burn for 5 cuts, and I stopped it after 4. So if I let it go for 5, it would have been a clean drop. But it kind of tricked me because this end raised up a little bit, and then when the other end fell, I stopped it. But hey, it was close enough that I could just barely scar it with the box cutter and got her out of there. So there you go, guys. That's 1/2 inch Cypress with the XTool D1 20 watt. So another project idea for you. Completely made with a laser. No need for a scroll saw, bandsaw, or any kind of other saw, as long as you've got your material cut down to size to fit in the enclosure. So thanks for stopping by, guys. And as always, be safe and have a good day.